So Omnis is a company that we started in 2018, trying to bring together the audiovisual world, the IT world, in order to create what we call visual IT solutions. And one of the very early job that we had to deal with was, finding a solution to do meeting room booking, but the customer was really, really interested in having a system that is completely disconnected to the typical Office 365, Google. So we looked around, we didn't find any good solution, so we decided, hey, why not make something? And that's how we started our product, Flex Easy. And the first difference is that we started as a system that is disconnected. Um, every other system usually starts connected. It connects to Office 365, it connects to Google Workspace, but ours had to be disconnected from the very beginning. So we have actually this capability that is not available anywhere else, to simply be fully standalone. Within an enterprise, you are able to set it up, on an on-premise server, which is also something which is fairly uncommon today, to be able to support on-premise and be able to use it for your room booking. But obviously, we also needed to follow the market requirements. So we added synchronization modules for Office 365, now called Microsoft 365, and Google Workspace. And from then on, it was about 3 years ago when we started to really have all the important features, and then hit COVID. So the very early requirements that we heard from customers was, can we do something to book desks? Can we do something to prevent people from being too close to each other? Can we do something to do, COVID tracing? So we added all those kind of functionality. Now, if you ask us, what is really the big difference we have with a lot of the competition now, it's simply that we now have 5 years of effort of development with a product that is stable and mature, that has been deployed across the world, and we continue innovating, adopting the new technology, like Cubics e-paper displays. So from the very beginning, we started supporting the Cubic products. The main reason is, they look good. There is this design that is very typical to the Cubic product, that is very nice, and it's very easy for us to approach the customer, showing them, the device quality, the device beauty. Obviously, the beauty is not only external, it's also internal. What we really like about the product is you have those APIs, to enable the provisioning, to enable, remote, changes to the system, which is fairly unique, in this market. So that's kind of the main reason we started using Cubic devices. Now, we have customers a bit around the world that have deployed the devices. Where I am in Japan, we have a fairly large fashion and health company that started deploying Cubic devices, especially the TD0350, the little cute device. And it's been over 2 years now. The deployment, was done, and we never had the trouble. So, kind of plug it and forget about it. We like it. It's been very reliable, and definitely those products are used every day. We have, obviously, in our system, we have the statistics. We know that people use the card, the NFC card, to check in and check out of their devices every day, and just the device has been perfect. In France, we actually work with one of the largest public transportation operator. It's a private company, but they take care of public transportation. And they have decided to deploy also Cubic devices for their meeting rooms, for their huddle rooms. And we've had a few issues, but definitely not with the Cubic devices. The customer is very requiring, has a lot of ideas about what they want. And this is actually one of the core capability of the company is we kind of customize, especially for larger customers. They always want something special. So we kind of customize specifically for a customer. So we were able actually to do a special user interface, which obviously, is very easy to do with the Cubic devices, since, in the back we are using HTML, and the device is very capable for that. Well, sometimes it's simply a user interface, or requesting like different ways to be able to check into the device. Obviously, touch panel devices. So you just add a few dialogues and configurations. But in reality, I mean, the beauty is that the system, we are able to fully customize it. So if they want to have, for example, a connection to an occupancy sensor, and this is kind of a requirement we hear more and more often, especially as a newer building always come preloaded some way with lots of sensors. So instead of deploying our own sensors, and we are compatible with a range of different sensors, we can simply get the information from the BMS, the building management system, and use those capability, directly from the tablet. So that's kind of a really, really nice possibility and really nice requirement we can fulfill. Apart from that, obviously, the ability for us to be able to remote manage the devices. Sometimes the customer will say, hey, we want, to do this or to do that. So, we are like, okay, we can actually enable that on the tablet. We can disable that on the tablet. And instead of requesting the customer to go one by one, hundreds of devices, we can just simply customize that inside our server software and deploy that. It's very easy. I cannot show you directly some examples here, but especially as we do not have the ability to display our customers' data. One of the things actually, which is I think related, is we are the company has management that is European. So me and my colleague are both from France, and we of course have very good opportunities in France and Europe, and because of that we had to follow the rule of the land there, which is called the GDPR. A room management system has to deal with personally identifiable information, and because of that, we felt very strongly that as part of our company policy, we wanted to have how to say in the core of our company, we wanted to really take this very seriously, that the data that our customer provide us is their data. It's never our data. So we always say it very simply. We have a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages long, I forgot, privacy policy on our website. But if you are, if you can't read everything, and most people end up never reading everything, we have a very simple TLDR, too long didn't read. Your data is your data. That's very simple. So we actually have access to some of our customer servers, obviously, because we do both on-premise and also in the cloud. But part of our policy is that we cannot look at their data unless they want us to, for some reason. So like this, we are sure that we don't impede into anyone's privacy. So for the same reason, when we hear or we find out from our customer because they want us to know, some statistical information, we can know. Fortunately, when we get that information, we can tell you because that's not private. But one thing that we really see is the like we are enabling the customers to fulfill some of their booking policy. So I'm going to give you an example of how to say one of our customer that wanted something special. So this is also one of my customer in Japan, and they wanted something very special, which is every user of the system, so every employee, have to kind of try and communicate with more employees. So when they started to do the flex office system, they said, okay, everyone is basically coming every day and choosing their desk, but we want you to have more interaction with your fellow employees. So that was a little bit before COVID. So after that, of course, less interaction. But the idea was, we force you using the system, using the company policy. Basically, if you try to use the same desk every day, the system will tell you, sorry, the company policy set in place prevents you from using the same desk. So of course, employees have to kind of migrate. And of course, this is actually very typical in a flex office. There is always a nicer place. There is a place with the grass plants. There is a place near the window. No one wants to sit at the corner, right? So they really put that in place. So we actually added in our system an entire policies functionality that makes it possible to prevent the reuse of the same resource on a regular basis. And this is completely configurable. So for this customer, they basically require their employees to stay, to not be able to reuse the same desk for 3 days. So one day you use the desk, then you have to wait 2 days, and then you can reuse the same desk again. So you're kind of forced, to go somewhere else. And also, they have very nice desks in some area. They call the cocoons. And when you actually, book the cocoon, there is actually 2 rules that applies to this. One is you can only use it for 4 hours, so you can never use it for the whole day. And the other rule is that once you've used the cocoon, you cannot use another cocoon as well. So you have to leave the space for other people, and this is a very good functionality, because it kind of makes it possible for everyone to have a chance to use one of those very, very nice seats. And we really loved making that for them. And obviously, what happens if you look at their statistics is, you can see that employees basically use a bit of every desk. They kind of end up going to the kind of 4, 5, 6, 7 desks they like, but they cannot just stay. And of course, for the cocoon, you can see that about every employee can use all the cocoons on a regular basis. So it's a very good way, to configure the system, and that we have put in place, for that customer. So one of the great things, for example, about your desk product, right? The Android round cute desk product, is that it's beautiful, but it requires electricity. And we have seen countless of places where they're like, well, that's a great device, but we cannot really kind of have a wire going. We like, construction is complicated, and eventually people decide not to do anything. They have a flex desk policy in place. They would love to have a hardware product, to be able to display and update the information about the person at the desk, but they cannot. So like, what's coming up with you guys and the e-paper product is it's gonna make it possible to just do that, which is have a beautiful product. You can just stick it. It's gonna work wirelessly and really no wire. So completely wirelessly, and make it possible to kind of update information on the fly, in a way that's gonna be very useful. And on top of that, because of the way that you added the interactive buttons, make it possible to do even more. One thing that comes to mind is I've never seen a support team that is so good at like coming back. Sometimes we have to deliver you information when we have issues, and we kind of tried stuff, and then we're busy, and then like support team comes like, hey guys, have you made headways and everything. So and the great thing obviously is at the end, we requested a functionality to be added in the product, and it's always, of course, we are a company, we understand that it's always complicated to add features required by every user, but we had no problem discussing that with your teams. The support team was understood what happened and why we needed that new functionality. So eventually, it took a couple of months, but like our problems got solved. Our new firmware was delivered, and we could deliver that to the customer. So I think this is not very typical of interactions with companies. You have a problem and you need it solved, and it will be put at the top of the pile. And we say, yes sir, we have many customers, we're gonna come to that later. But actually, regular conversations ended up that our product, our requirement got listened to, and we could have a solution fairly quickly. So that's something that if people want to work with Quebec, is you listen to your customer, you listen to the market, and I think that's a great feature for a company and a team. And so we try to do the same. We try to listen to our customer, we try to listen to the market, but obviously that's something that we should always celebrate. When we work with a partner, is quite often it's like, oh my god, this is missing, or people mostly remember that when they have bad interactions, it's a flow for humans. But in reality, we should always celebrate the good interactions, because they are great. And I mentioned the support team, but the logistics team have always been great with us. I have like basically zero. I'm not seeing a flow really in the system. I would say probably in this business, we of course work with different companies. I think we probably, Quebec had been the more reactive company, and we'd love to continue that, working with you guys, and delivering more cool products, together. So we are looking forward to launching the e-paper product with you, and see the rest obviously. Well, one thing for sure that increased our productivity is between the different lines of product that we have been doing the certification of for our product, is consistent APIs. Quite often you go to a vendor, and because they have slightly different products, they end up having slightly different APIs, which for us it doubles the work, right? What was great working with you, according to our development team, is that we did the work to integrate one tablet, and then the next tablet works again, then the next tablet works again, next tablet works again. So every time we had to deal with a new product, you called it a new product, but from the point of view of us doing the certification, was just verifying that the API was still the same, which makes our life a lot easier. And we had no bad surprise. Even if you consider, for example, the difference between a large 10-inch tablet and a small 3.5-inch tablet, as me myself as a user, I would say, oh my God, they will be different, but actually no, they work the same, and the APIs are the same. So it's it's definitely for an independent software vendor. Working with Cubic is easy because you have this stability of the APIs, which makes it possible for us, to innovate, to spend our time innovating rather than rewriting the same thing again and again.